Hello, I'm going to be talking about the Dutch farmers' resistance to the behaviour of their own government. But I'm going to be making a couple of points, and I'm going to be agreeing with Jordan Peterson, and I'll play you a clip of his. First of all, I'll tell you I'm granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. Also, I let you know when I've uploaded a video on Twitter and Gab. And if you want to donate to my channel, you can. The links to the other platforms and to the donation site are in the description. Right, now, Jordan Peterson said this.
Farming community itself, and then the same thing obtains obviously at the political level. These things are seldom monolithic.
And yes, it's not monolithic. This was a very good show on Sky Australia, and they were talking about the Dutch rebellion. And at one point, another one of their interviewees said this. Here, I'll get it. His name is Alex Antic. Good name. And this is what he said.
I mean, I heard it described today as the Dutch farmers are like the canary down the coal mine when it comes to politics.
The Dutch farmers are the canary in the coal mine, because what he's saying is that the government is trying to exert its influence, or rather its control, over people, and farmers are something that governments find difficult to control. If you just think about it, most farmers are independent landowners, or at least land leasers. They produce food which people need. They're even off-grid in most ways, because generally speaking most farms have generators, and by the way, in Holland the Dutch farmers are the most successful businesses that Holland has, and that gives them a certain amount of power. Now, the government have come up with a rationalization for their attempt to legislate farming out of existence, and they're saying they're producing too much nitrogen. And obviously, as I've said in a previous video, maybe some adjustments could be made, but the way the government's going about it so fast that most farmers are just going to shut up shop. And it seems scarcely credible that a government would wish to turn its food production over to outside suppliers. And you wonder why they do that. Well, this canary in a coal mine business is a good point, but that's not where it started. It actually started, the real canaries are the British farmers when Tony Blair stopped hunting in 2020, anyway, about 20 years ago, bit more. Now, I know there are arguments against hunting, and there are arguments for it as well, although the people who are against it don't seem to think that. But the point is that this hunting was a communal affair that gave farmers cohesion and some sort of social connections in an environment which is actually very solitary. Farmers used to be surrounded by hordes of workers, people baling and pitchforking and ploughing and pulling carts and horses and things. But now one man and a big combine harvester up and down that field all day. Farmers are very, very lonely people, which is possibly why they have a quite high suicide rate. And hunting was one way they all got together. Now, again, you may say, well, they could find other ways. Yeah, maybe they could, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. And actually, maybe I will consider the idea of doing a live stream discussing hunting. That might be quite interesting, but not now. But the fact is, it was a hysterical political campaign against farmers. There was very little logic in any of the arguments. It's just, I don't like toffs riding about the countryside. Basically, that was the anti-hunting argument. The cruelty aspect, well, nature is always very cruel, and never more so than to an old fox. You get an old fox who can't hunt anymore for its own food, and it dies of starvation. That is, unless it collapses first, and then the crows or the rats eat it while it's still alive. That happens too. No, nature is very cruel. And so saying hunting is cruel, well, there are arguments, as I say, for and against. But it didn't actually save any foxes from a grisly death, because foxes still have to be controlled. The argument was that there's a lot of toffs racing about the countryside on horses, and so we shouldn't be sympathetic to them. Just remember, that's the same argument we use when we're talking about white privilege and white people being beaten up by people of other ethnic groups, and then saying, well, you know, they're white and privileged, so we shouldn't feel sorry for them. That's a similar argument. And that's one of the early signs. That was one of the early signs of a social change which demanded that people be perceived as doing certain things and then punished for it, without any serious argument about whether they really were deserving of punishment. And the Dutch farmers, they are being got at now. There's no hunting in Holland, so far as I know, so they're being got at for nitrogen emissions instead of foxes. It's the same thing, though. I know some people will disagree with me, but please keep the comments polite. If they do get a bit beyond the pale, I'm going to delete them. So the Dutch farmers are not the canaries in the coal mine. That was the British farmers. The Dutch farmers are just better organised. They, in Britain, they made the Countryside Alliance. It really didn't get anywhere. I don't notice that it's done anything for farmers. But the Dutch farmers, they are going into politics. They are going to tell the government, no, you can't cut our country's throat like this and make us dependent on factory farms from America or whatever for our food. And good for them is what I say. And maybe we will see some reversal of the nonsense that's going on in our elites right now. Okay, well, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.